Welcome to Can We Talk with Deidre Moss. Thank you for tuning in with us today. My name is Deidre Moss. I'm the host of Can We Talk. I'm an educator, motivator, and a talk connoisseur. September is Suicide Awareness Month, and we thought it would be fitting to focus on this topic. Today, my esteemed guest is Arnold Martin, and he will be joining me today to help me dissect this topic. At this time, I will pass the virtual mic to our guest so that he can introduce himself.
Right. Thank you for sharing the platform with me. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Arnold Martin. I don't know. That's always a hard question for me to answer. I am an educator. I've been an educator for over 10 years. I'm a counselor by um, correct profession, currently at the University of Bahamas. Um, I don't know. I am a podcast enthusiast. So that is what I'm working on now. Published book author. Um, I don't know. I'm an artist, entrepreneur. I am whatever I wake up and want to be. But um, that's who I am.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm excited to have you on board. And we're going to talk about a serious topic. This topic is very serious, and we thought it is important and fitting to talk about it today. But before we begin, if you're tuning in from our social media page and you just joined us, like us and share this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel using the links on our page. We want to hear from you. Also, if there's something that you think we should be talking about, feel free to let us know. Let us know if you would like to advertise or sponsor our platform or our program. I also want to express that the views shared by our guests are their own and do not reflect the views of the host or the platform. With that, let's get into our talk. And so I'm going to ask you about your background. I know you talked a little bit about it,
Okay.
but I see on the screen there's Arnold on everything.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Background. So Arnold on everything. Let me start with that. That's the most current. Arnold on. It was a my take my counseling skills and allow them to reach the community at large. And so my clients benefited from me based on whichever institution I was employed through, or if I was engaged through private services, but I wanted people who had no connection to me to be able to do it. And so it's a social media um, entity in which people send me messages, questions, and I answer their questions. I create a video and I answer their questions. And then we either hit the comments and have our back and forth, or they DM me. And sometimes literal sessions go on in my direct message. So that's what Arnold on Everything is. Ask me a question on anything, I have the answer or my perspective on everything. All right. But background, like I said, about 20 years as an educator, um, currently training skill counselor at the University of the Bahamas, um, founding president of the nonprofit incorporation, the Men of Honor Association. That's an organization that has given to date over $250,000 back to youths and the community within Grand Bahama, and I guess the Bahamas by extension. Um, I am again a podcast enthusiast, so on everything, I'm working on turning it into a podcast. And literally, my goals are simply to inspire, encourage, and challenge people. Challenge the views, challenge the perspective, challenge the box that sometimes we tend to live in. And let's see how we can make this thing make sense called life.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I want to invite those who are watching us today. If you're joining us, we would love to hear from you. add your comments under the video, and we'll be sure to shout you out and mention your comments. And so, from what I gathered and what you discussed about your background, you're very engaged with the community, and that's what I like about you. You're very engaged with the community. And so you said that you kind of touch on everything. You're open to discussing everything, and so you make yourself available to reach out to others or have people reach out to you and an engaged person. So, that's what I want to congratulate you on that, and that's what I like about you. You're open to having those discussions and building that dialogue.
Yeah, definitely. Um, de-
Mm.
it's just a new classroom. I've been
Yeah,
in the classroom for so many years. You learn, uh, so many students, and so this is a new classroom.
definitely. The classroom definitely prepares you for that. Um, And so I want to talk about suicidal awareness. September is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month.
Okay.
And so what is your view of suicide awareness in our country, in our society?
Um. All right. So suicide awareness. Bahamas. Um. I guess the first operation suicide awareness, and what that reps collective effort. To of suicide. Often suicide is effort, but it just takes something as simple as education. So this is what suicide awareness is: the education that is um, make people aware of
I
some.
think some of your words are being cut. I don't know if it's because, yeah, if maybe, yeah. So go ahead. Sorry. Yeah.
All right, hear me clearly now?
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So suicide awareness. I want to define it first. And what it is a collection of effort to of suicide. So oftentimes suicide very preventable, but the thing is preventable is education, and whether that education is at the individual level or the relationship level or community level or society level, um, the education can help. And so I'm not fully assured. And so I have no statistics to back up what I'm about to say, but just being someone immersed in society, I'm not sure how um, I'm not sure how aware our society is when it comes to suicide awareness. I know that we do have the resources and we do have organizations in place to help with prevention and the spread of this educational information. But in terms of the community at large, I don't think, um, and this is opinion, this is perspective based on observation, I don't think that we are a society that is extremely aware of the dynamics of suicide.
Thank you for sharing that perspective. And so, as we consider September, which is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month, and the upcoming International Men's Day in November, which highlights male suicide, zero under the theme zero male suicide. There is a focus on male suicide. And so, what is your view of that as we consider suicide in general, but then we also dissect and look at male suicide?
All right, so think about it. Men are typically in this society and other societies as well. Men are typified as this, like we are the head of the household. We are the strength, we're the support, we're the rock. And so when you look at all of the burdens and all of the responsibilities that men have to carry, I dare to say that men and men's mental health, it's not taken care of, not in this society. All right. And so, because I live here, let's speak about this society. But men's mental health isn't taken care of in this society. And so, when you look at statistics, the statistics prove, and the statistics show that men are most likely to be successful in carrying out suicide attempts. And so, when you have and you have these men now, they're going to carry out these suicide attempts, and they're most likely to be successful. But men, just being the nature of who we are and how we are, don't talk about problems so much. And so now you have um, you have a group of people that, one, you lack the support because you're stigmatized by society that you have to be strong, and that you have to be the head, and you have to be the problem solver. And so, my question pretty much is, who do men turn to when they have mental health issues, when they have stress, when they have burdens? Who do they turn to? And so, a month focusing on zero suicide in males, I absolutely love it. It is absolutely necessary.
Yeah, and that's why it was important for me to invite you as a male and bringing in that male perspective. And I think we have some idea of it, but why is it so difficult? Why do you think there's a challenge of men kind of talking about this issue, and bringing this issue forward? We
Um,
know that it exists. Why is it so difficult for men to talk about it?
I think is it may not just um specific to this, but, like, literally think about it. Being a man, status quo has turned man to a specific function role, and when um are employed to carry out a role, and difficulties arise, and let's just say you're unable to carry out that role to the expectation of people, you are criticized. So, men, like anyone else, we're gonna carry criticism a certain way. It's almost and if you're criticized for not living up to the expectation of manhood, then, my God, think about the burden that you're going to be carrying. Think about how that makes you feel, you know. And so it and then also think about the fact that men and women are two different creatures. And while women want to talk about their problems, and while women want to share, and men, they go internal, they go inside themselves, and they're trying to figure out everything within their minds on their own. And sometimes that doesn't translate well. Sometimes we need the resources. Just a quick side note, but connected. I ran a report the other day about the statistics of male to female seeking counseling. And the female seeking counseling, I mean, more than tripled the amount of males who sought counseling. And my female clients, they vastly outnumber my male clients. And so, again, this is a light to shine where we're saying, why? And I think the question more so is, why don't males seek help when they need it? Um, why? I don't know. A part of it could be that society places such an expectation on us, We don't want to criticize for not or living up to the standard of what society says this is good man, fuck man, or anything of that nature.
So, do you think that we create a space for men to feel comfortable to talk about their issues?
Hell no. Well, I said that. No, we don't. Let's we don't. Listen, I love my but we have so much room to grow in so much area, especially when it comes to mental health. And when we can't talk about suicide unless we talk about mental health. We have so much room to grow as a country. Do not create space. We have spaces, but are they safe spaces? I don't want to attack of the that have in the country, but some of the places that are supposed to be safe and um, reformative, they're not safe and they're not reformative. People opt. I rather not deal with that. I don't want to go there because worries they are just as bad as me. And so no, we don't. We create spaces. We're good at creating spaces, but are we creating safe spaces for people too? Because guess what? When I and, and this is one of the overlies, we I don't even think I don't I don't think Bahamas. Go to the state covered. So that how about so we could um was on that, but one can't be done without connecting to the other. And so what are the things that people really in professional health in solving problems that arise? You got to pick your pocket, medical, medical counseling, and, and that type of thing. But with that is my observation. We space, but they're not safe spaces. Because the minute I tell you what's going on with the fair, overwhelming concern people have it, talk my business, share with someone, nothing private. So people, men, especially I think would be that um, who do I go to seek help that is confidential and to, to legitimately help the process without criticizing, without spotlight on, without judging, without making them less than or like or not making that.
Definitely, definitely so. And so, as we talk about those safe spaces, and they're not being enough of a safe space for persons to feel comfortable to divulge certain bits of information. Um, what is your view on the stigma? And do you believe that there is a stigma attached to suicide? And how can we reduce that stigma?
Um, well, definitely in the Bahamas as far as suicide is concerned. And so the thing with suicide ideation, which is, and I think at some point, all of us have probably thought about suicide at some point. And that doesn't mean that you're going to commit suicide, but um, suicide ideation, it deals with thinking about suicide and then actually creating plans to carry out suicide. And so when you look at what's happening in our society in terms of stigma, there is a huge stigma surrounding suicide. We don't even want to talk about it, you know? Um, we don't want to talk about it, but um, like I always ask, what do we conquer if we don't confront it? And so, one stigma that we have to tremendously overcome is the idea that if you leave it alone and don't talk about it, that it's gonna get better. Or we have this idea that let's not talk about it because you don't want to give anyone any ideas. Um, and there's the stigma attached to suicide, where um, we think the individual who is suicidal, that they want to die. But the statistics and the reality is that most people who are suicidal, they don't want to die. And that might be like a gas moment, like what you mean they don't want to die, and they thinking about suicide. Persons who are suicidal, they are in some form of pain, and what they actually want is to end the pain, the current pain that they are in. And so they don't want to die. And so, again, if we overcome the stigma of silence and being afraid to talk about it, because talking about it may give more people ideas, then, like I said in the beginning with suicide awareness, then we could now take something that is very preventable just by talking about it and spreading education and information at the community level, the individual level, at the society level, relationship level, and we could actually start saving some lives by doing the opposite of what the stigma has us to believe. We don't, I mean, teachers in schools, they don't want to talk about it. I used to be called in to so many different schools that I wasn't posted at to talk about certain topics. And suicide was one of those topics. Like, people just didn't want to touch that. But the thing is, we got to touch it. We have to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a sensitive topic, so I understand why people may be a little bit, afraid to kind of get into the topic. But like you said, talking about it helps to bring more awareness to bring more awareness to what it is about. I mean, and to help bring a resolution or bring solutions to the problem, we have to bring it to the table. But like I said, people may be afraid to talk about it because it's hard to talk about these sensitive issues. Um, these are not sometimes not pleasant to talk about. It could be difficult. You could unravel some difficult emotions, and sometimes you may not be prepared to deal with what may come as a result of bringing up these discussions. But we need to talk about it because it exists. We can't sweep it under the rug, but
No,
we need to talk about it.
yeah.
Um, and so that brings us to role. That brings us to our role, and what role do we play as citizens in bringing awareness to suicide and suicide prevention?
Um, Again, educate yourselves. Um, you must order, try to resolve any conflict or resolve or issue. You have to be educated. And so we live in a society, a day era, where it's so simple, simple as going on. Educate yourself. Make sure that you are having informed conversation. Make sure that you are receiving information, advice from credible sources. I like to tell young people, make sure that um, about someone who, in terms of authority, is a little bit higher than yourself. Yeah, you could talk to your friend, but your friend. probably know on, similar level as what you know. And so you
Yeah.
need to seek out someone with a little bit more. Um, the key is education. Um, I can't stress that enough. That, that full play, society play, have to have that some of the things that we do in our own personal culture that don't affect the facts. You know, those things don't affect the facts. Therefore, we need to be able to remove self and personal beliefs and ideology from the facts uh, going forward. Because um, a lot of people that who are society that um, that not, know, sometimes all of our personal beliefs and or put onto a situation. We, so decide how where what to think, to a personal conviction, personal value, take away from how approach on fact, on quantifiable um under, and that's the role that you play. Inform yourself. Go on Google. What you don't understand, look it up. Um, for that we formed.
Thank you. Thank you for your perspective. And I wanted to mention that because you brought up a point, and I want to mention that sometimes I recommend to my students that we do have free counseling services that are available to them. And every time I mention it, they always give me this look like, I'm okay, there's nothing wrong with me. I mean, I don't know why, but I always tell them that nothing, it's okay, it's okay to see a counselor. You don't have to have any issues to see the counselor. That is a service that is available to you to express if you have any concerns or anything that you may need to talk about. But it doesn't require that. It doesn't mean that you're mental or you have some type of issue. That's just a service that is available to you to prevent, if you prevent you from you know um, dealing with the challenges or anything that you may have. I'm getting tongue twisted, but sometimes they think that if I see a counselor, because I'm just trying to get to the gist. If I see a counselor, then there's some issue with me. There's something wrong with me, but that's not the case.
No,
And yeah, go ahead.
no, I was saying definitely not. That's another stigma.
Yeah,
I don't want to see a counselor or think
exactly.
people are gonna think that
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
but no, that's not the case. I am a counselor.
Yes.
I have a counselor. Sometimes
Yes.
has this way, it's constantly moving forward, and we're gonna be bombarded on a daily basis with
Hmm.
situations and circumstances. Sometimes
Exactly.
things that we're maneuvering for the first time. We all need advice. We all need someone that could help guide us or facilitate some kind of roadmap. And so it doesn't really have to do with that there's something wrong with me, because that isn't the case. Um, it's just it, it's it's as simple as reading a book. Um, a mental health break for me is I love to read. I read.
Yeah.
Um, it's as simple as um, yourself once a month. All it is a tool, another resource. Sometimes we need to talk. So we just need someone to listen,
Hmm.
and all it is the resource that sometimes don't have the answer, and we are so stressed over not having the answer. And the funny thing, counselors are professionally trained. Those that are skilled are professional, and they can help highlight the answer in our professional development. In our, sorry, personal development. Sometimes we that doesn't make you, doesn't make you any better than intelligent person who recognize that no matter the life, some people have the to help you over what's already um that of life.
Definitely, and they have the skills, like you said, to help you maneuver through these different issues. And again, just want to reiterate that that doesn't mean that anything is wrong with you.
Oh,
That just means that you're seeking professional help for whatever concerns or issues that you may have. And so I want to open this up to those persons who may be joining us. If you'd like to comment on our video, please let us know. We would like to hear from you. September is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month, and we thought it would be fitting to talk about this topic. And so as we wind down this session, I want to bring us to our fast talk segment, and I want to ask you a few questions and give you 60 seconds to get through those questions. The
okay.
first question is, as a community, do you believe we are effective in addressing suicide prevention and awareness?
All right, one more time for my
As a community, I know we touched on it a little bit,
uh,
but as a community, do you think that we are effective in addressing suicide prevention and awareness?
I do not think that pressing um on wide as wide a scale as we again we have part side that here. We have resources to support plans, all of that, but on at the end level, that's how much because the statistics show that death rises in suicide and not, um looked at that 50% of um adults in the Bahamas have mental health when the population about 340,000. That's alarming. That's high. So where am I going as we school? We need to address what we call it from in order for us to make something that's beneficial, talk about it more and make us not talking about it.
Thank you. As I mentioned earlier, November is Men's International Day, and a major theme within that event is zero male suicide. And so I want to ask you, how do we effectively address male suicide?
Or how do we suicide? Why um some legwork with all right to actually look at the plight. All right. Look at what real men, and by real men I mean, you know, the demographic of men within whatever socioeconomic class, what they're going through, what their burdens are on a regular basis, on a day-to-day basis. What are their concerns? What are their stressors? What are the things that they find themselves worrying and stressing about? We need to conduct, put on surveys, get the quantifiable evidence. We need the numbers, and then the numbers that fall high within this research. Then we need to find out at a countrywide level what programs, who can we collaborate with, which organizations, which faith-based groups which schools, which institutions that we could connect with to actually launch these programs to actually facilitate the real needs of men. Because all too often we have people speaking on behalf of people, and what they're saying people actually need, they don't actually need. And so we need to hear from men what the actual stresses are, what the actual needs are. And even if it's done anonymously, because again, um, cultural stigma, it causes people to be shameful. So they're shamed. So even if it's something done anonymously, we need the research in order to move forward. And I think um, we're not doing enough research in this country. And so we need the research in order to resolve issues on a long term scale. So the best thing we could do for men is to have men say and what those issues are, what those stresses are, and then we could go from there about establishing real programs that could help.
Thank you. And if you look at or consider what we are doing now, what do can you identify something that we're not doing that we should do to effectively address suicide awareness and prevention in our community?
That we are not doing that. Uh, we should something not that probably saw that before I saw um a performing arts school. And this performing arts school they conducted a whole what do you call it? They conducted a whole play. Think of a better word now. They conducted this whole play where they kept all of the artists involved because in order to execute the play, you had the artist, who you had the music, you had the actors, and they conducted this play, and the whole theme of the play was based on suicide awareness. And so maybe again, if we could take the stigma away from talking about it, remove the silence, where we at a comfortable enough place to know that we could create a play, we could create a musical, we could use the performing arts as a tool to actually spread the awareness about suicide. We can prevent suicide. You know, the more that people know and that they're armed with, then they're going to be able to spot people who are suicidal. And I mean, I could tell you story after story, suicide attempt after suicide attempt, where people were just like they were begging for someone to notice. They were begging for someone to notice, and so I think that performing arts, I think, again, incorporating in the educational system, where even if it's a topic in the curriculum, family life, whatever, but we need to talk about it. We need to educate about it, and we need to put the facts out there. And so, um, the incorporation of suicide talks and education within a mainstream platform um, is not being done. And I think that could be a huge help. Put it on the curriculum, put it as a part of the performing arts, and see what they come up with. See, create an art competition that highlights, suicide awareness. We're not glorifying it, but we're bringing awareness to something that is real, and hiding it or covering it up don't make it go away. It's still there.
Thank you. Thank you for engaging with us in our Fast Talk segment. And as we come to wind down, is there any other comments that you would like to add?
Um, yeah, comments that I would like to add. Um, I I want to acknowledge uh, some that not fast. And so imagine that the stage is black and the light comes on. Imagine a dancer walking onto the stage with broken feet. And so that dancer walks onto that broken feet. But that dancer, I mean, that dancer broken. I mean, that on toes, triple dance on broken. If we see that in real life, we would be like, you know, that's what broken, because if you dance on those broken, the problem are going to become worse. The problem will become worse. And so when you look at uh, the fact that statistics show that they don't seek out professional help as much as women. And I don't know what it is, because they, even when it comes to the medical arena, they say men don't like the hospital. But I don't know what it is. But imagine showing up every day to be the breadwinner, to be the daddy, to be the provider, to be the rock, to be the strong fortress, to be all of these things. And imagine showing up, doing all of these things, and you have so much burdens going on mentally. It's the same thing as dancing with broken feet. That's the analogy right there. And so you have men who are burdened by the expectation of society, showing up and having to show up and having to live up to this expectation. And most of the times it's living up to an expectation of manhood. And when the reality is, there is no universal definition, there is no one streamlined truth about what a man is, because the reality is, you know, it all varies, because our lives are so vastly different. And so we are showing up to meet these expectations while we are broken, while we are damaged. And just like dancing on broken feet, you're making the problem worse, but you still have to show up. And that is the imagery that comes to my mind when I think about what men um, have to do, despite everything that's going on. It's almost like you cannot be vulnerable, you cannot be human, because you are a man and you're supposed to be the provider. You're supposed to be the solution, um, and that's not the case. And and that's my final.
Yeah, you kind of find yourself in a tight spot because on one end we don't want you to, we want you to share, but we don't want you to share too much. We want you to be vulnerable, but we don't want you to be too.
Too
We
vulnerable.
don't want you to be too vulnerable. We don't want you to be too soft.
Watch it, watch it, watch it, people. The next time someone asks you how you doing, I dare you, and you all need to seek me out. I dare you. Instead of saying everything good, everything okay, make up a problem and watch the reaction of the person. I don't care who it is. 9 times out of 10, they ain't into that. They ain't even trying to listen to you. They was hoping you just. It's almost like we asking how are you out of formality. We don't really mean it. Um, so what do you do in a
Formality,
world?
and it's always a calculated response. I good, I cool.
I cool. I dare you to pretend like everything ain't cool, or if you dare, I dare you to share a real problem and watch the reaction. Watch the reaction. That conversation getting cut short because they ain't into that. Who cares? And that's the kind of society what we living in, and that's another part of the problem. We living in a society where people don't care about people enough. Where I only care if it's my family
Wow.
or someone close or connected to. And so again,
Mhm.
this is another burden that you get to carry because why tell anybody and they really don't care? And so this is a sentiment that comes up a lot. Oh, oh,
You're right. I mean, or they don't care, or
yeah,
they care enough to listen and take your business elsewhere. So
yeah,
that's definitely a the reality of what we live in,
mhm,
and experience, and it's sad.
yeah,
It's sad. Yeah.
it is. So I understand it, get the plight. Sometimes you feel like it's hopeless because who do I talk to? Who really I carry this by myself. I'm gonna try and solve this by myself. But no, that's always the bad way. By yourself, man was not to be alone, you know. And they have too many resources, too many people out there that are capable of helping. And most people who commit suicide, they're not trying to end their lives, trying to that current. And one thing I know about life is governed by the law of permanency. Everything in life is permanent. And so every every situation, problem is permanent. Every, everything has shall come to an end. And so we can get the tools and resources to help us manage, overcome, the problem is gonna come to an help is out there.
Thank you. Thank you. So that brings us to a segment called Helping Hands. And at this moment, I would like to introduce this segment. So this moment has been dedicated to help those in need. There are times when individuals reach out to us seeking assistance for a job or whatever their need may be. And if this platform can assist in any way we will do that. We will feature those who wish to connect with individuals who want and are willing to lend a helping hand during this segment. So if you would like to assist us in reaching someone, use the contacts that are provided on our page and do so and lend a helping hand. And so that brings us to our final remarks. Again, I want to touch you. I want to touch you again, and just check in with you to see if you would like to end on any closing remarks.
My closing remarks, Doug, thank you for the uh, but but I also on Arnold on topic, talk about it.
Arnold on everything. Arnold on everything. Published author, counselor. You have your hands on everything. Mentor, your organization. What the organization's name again?
The Men of Honor Association.
Men of Honor Association, giving back to the community, engaging in the community, reaching out to the community. You have your hands all up in it. And so we love to see it. We love to see it. So thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. We had some technical difficulties earlier, but I want to thank you for being there with us and coming through
Yep.
anyway.
I can always I come true.
Thank you so much. So, this brings us to the end of our session. Thank you for tuning in and joining us in our talk today. I would like to thank our guest, Arnold on Everything, Mr. Arnold Martin, for sharing his insight with us today. We want to remind you, if you'd like to advertise with us, let us know. You can also reach out to us through our page. Our contacts are there. We want to grow, so grow with us. To those watching via social media, thank you for listening in. Like our page for future notifications of upcoming talks. Comment under our video. Let us know your thoughts. We want to hear from you. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Can We Talk? Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, using the LinkedIn. The address is provided on our page. And remember, let's think, talk, do. Thank you so much. Have a good night, everyone.